Hello, it's Marina Gabor here with Oakfield Safety, and we are going to talk about impulse control today. How can we use 20 bucks a month to help our kids stay home alone and be safe? How does that work? Let's dive in and chat about this. First of all, as our children are getting older, they're entering that teen area age group, they start wanting to spend time at home alone. And we are maybe going, I'm not so sure if you're ready. And we're not sure if they're ready because they haven't demonstrated some of these what are called executive function skills. So we're not sure that they're able to handle some of the things that might come up when they're home by themselves. But as parents, we have an opportunity to help our kid prepare so that we can slowly over time start giving them more and more responsibility as it should be. It's the order of things. Now, the tricky part of this is we might struggle with some of these things too. I know that I did when my girls were growing up and entering this tween age group, and we were thinking about, staying home alone. And I'm thinking, I don't know, can they actually handle it? But it's a growth process. So one of the things we might do is allow them to handle their own money. Now, this isn't getting them to earn their money. That's a whole different thing altogether. This is just, we're trying to build some impulse control. Like, if I have 20 bucks, am I going to spend it all at one time? Or can I manage it over the course of the month, knowing that that's all I have? So it develops this impulse control kind of skill. Now, it's hard to see your kids making silly mistakes, foolish choices that you know they're going to be sad about later, but they're not life-threatening. Hopefully, it's just 20 bucks. And they're learning some lessons so that when they are at home by themselves and they are needing to do something, they're going to be able to control themselves a little better. We're going to learn it about the money. We're going to talk about it. And then they're going to practice that as they have opportunity to be independent. Now, when we were starting this, my daughters loved going to the dollar store a lot. It seemed like we should have owned shares in the dollar store. And I thought, I can't be spending this much money at the dollar store. So instead, I gave them each a sum of money, and that was supposed to last for the entire month. And they quickly realized, I can buy like one bigger thing or two bigger things, or I can buy a bunch of smaller things. But if I spend all my money at the beginning of the month is really long, and I'm not going to have anything at the end of the month. Well, it only took one or two times of doing that before they realized, if I have 20 bucks, maybe I only want to spend $5 a week. Or maybe I want to save up for 2 months for something bigger. But we were able to have these kind of conversations all because of that 20 bucks. It was money well spent. How does that translate into them being home alone? You think, okay, that's fine. But now my kid needs to be home alone. And how do I know that they're going to get their stuff done when they need to get it done? Well, part of it is planning, and we'll talk about that on another session. But part of it is also this impulse control, being able to realize that, I need to do this now so that I can do this later. The nice thing is they are in the comfort of home, the safety net of home. So if they screw it up, it's okay. They're learning. This is the time and place to do it. It might be that they come home and instead of doing their homework like they're supposed to, they spend the 2 hours between the time they get home and the time that you get home from work, and they're playing video games instead. And now their homework isn't done. And then what happens? Well, there's a natural consequence. But perhaps then they start to realize, okay, well, I got to get this homework done. So they do it, but they don't do a good job. And then they go and they play the video game. So they're learning some impulse control, they're learning some delayed gratification. And then over time, they'll start to see, oh, okay, I just need to hunker down and get this done, and then I'll have time to do what I want. And then everybody's going to be happy, and I'm going to get a better mark on this assignment at school, and mom's going to be happy, and I'm going to get to stay home alone more. So they'll start to connect those kind of consequences, positive and negative, all because 20 bucks, we're learning some impulse control. So you can start by giving your child a small sum of money, $10, $20, whatever, and they are to use that for specific things that normally you would buy for them, but they're not necessarily big things, but things that they're choosing that they would like, and things that normally you would say yes or no to. Now they're learning how to make those kind of decisions. They're empowered. That money they can use at their discretion to make their purchases. It gives this sense of ownership, the sense of empowerment, the sense of I'm growing up and I'm in charge of this. Now you might want to put a few boundaries. You don't want them buying chocolate bars, $20 worth of chocolate bars and eating it. I mean, it's not the worst thing 1 month. Maybe they'll get a bellyache and not want to do it again. So it depends on your lifestyle. You may want to put a few boundaries. This is your money to spend on XYZ, whatever that is. But here's the thing. If they choose to spend it on a chocolate bar and it's 8 o'clock at night and they have the money, but you have the car, and they say, oh, I really want a chocolate bar right now, 8 o'clock at night. Well, just because they have the money and they have the desire for the thing doesn't mean that they have to do it right that second. That's part of this whole impulse control. And we know this as adults too. Just because we have the money and we want it doesn't mean we go do it right away. They need to know the power of waiting. This also comes in handy when they're staying home alone and they'd really like to say, have a friend over, but they know that they're not supposed to have friends over when they're home alone. And so they need to say, no, you can't come over right now, but let's talk about a time when my mom is home when you can come over. And then they have developed some of this impulse control. The learning starts to be transferred to different aspects. So we always want to be talking to our kids about these choices, about the positive consequences, negative consequences, about the opportunities. And we start having this dialogue and we start allowing them to be empowered by some of their choices, making some of these mistakes, which they're not going to learn unless they do them. But they're doing them with this safety net of being at home. Now, one thing to think about is as soon as your child starts getting entitled, feeling like, hey, mom, where's my 20 bucks? Then it's time to cut that out. Then it's time for them to start working for that 20 bucks to see, oh, this is how much effort it takes to get that 20 bucks to buy the things that I want to buy. But initially, we just want to learn this lesson of, here, I have this resource, and how am I going to spend it? How am I going to give in to every impulse, or am I going to be more deliberate? So whether you give your kids 10 or 20 bucks a month for the little things they'd like to purchase throughout the month, it gives you the opportunity to talk about saving and spending and buying things, the criteria for buying things, and it will build these impulse control muscles. And you want to be confident that your child has or is on the path to getting better with these things when they're home alone, so that they're able to follow through with some of the instructions that you leave for them without impulsively doing things that will not be fabulous when they're home by themselves. So if your child is at the age where they're ready to start staying home alone and you get the feeling that This is the next step we're working towards. Then have them take the Stay Safe Home Alone course. It will get them thinking about some of the situations that will come up when they're by themselves. As parents, it's hard to think about all of those situations when we're thinking about everything else and what to make for dinner and how to manage the household and what to do for work and like the whole 9 yards. It's just one more thing. Where you take the Home Alone course, we go through all of these different scenarios with the kids. And then they have the workbook. It has a whole bunch of questions in it that are conversation starters. It will open up those conversations. So you can say, oh, well, what did you learn about this? And it will open up the door to that. So it makes it less awkward than if you're just like off the cuff saying something about, oh, well, I think we should talk about smoke detectors today. Where did that come from? Takes away some of that awkwardness, and it will help be a positive experience in moving them towards having more responsibility, staying home alone for longer periods of time. Could even be that, that awkward time between they're home from school and you're getting home from work. And after school care is sometimes hard to find, can be expensive. And spending that $20 to help them learn some impulse control, money well spent. They can spend the time home alone. You don't have to spend money on after school care, after school programs, because they are able to manage themselves. So head over to the website, oakfieldsafety.com, sign up your kid for an upcoming Home Alone course, and start preparing them to take on this responsibility for themselves, this next step in the growing up process. Until next time, be safe.